Hey there! Speak up in a personal communication class. How are you doing today? I'm Patrick. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you right now. But seriously, I have some really serious stuff to talk about right now. Perception. What is perception? Why does it happen? What forms our perceptions? There's actually quite a few things that form our perceptions. And in fact, there's these things called the fundamental forces of perception. And this is one of the things you really need to know from this chapter. There are 7 fundamental forces of perception. The first is called stereotyping. You've probably heard of stereotyping before, but it really isn't all as bad as you think it is, although it usually has a negative connotation. In fact, stereotyping is something that all of us, every human being, does. And it's the process of placing a person into a category based on the group that they might belong to. We do this with men, with women, with people living in the United States, people living in Texas, people living in Houston. We do it with people of different races, people of different religions, people of different sexual orientations. We do this with everybody. And whenever we find out somebody is part of a group, we automatically place certain characteristics on that person. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's actually neither. In fact, it could be a good thing because it could help protect you and help you figure out more about the people around you. It could be a bad thing because you could jump into conclusions that are incorrect. So either way, it could be good, could be bad. Just be aware of the danger and the potential of positivity of it as well. The next thing we have is something called the primacy effect. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Let me try to make another first impression for this video. Hi everybody, this is Patrick and I'm going to do a video about chapter 4, perception. You see, it doesn't work. Your first perception was this guy doing like this thing, and it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work anymore. You cannot change your perception from the primacy effect, which is one of the most important things about somebody's impressions of you and perceptions of you. The first thing that occurs, the first thing that happens, which is why you need to be really aware of what impression you're sending out every time you meet somebody. We also have something called the recency effect. The recency effect is the most recent impression you've had of somebody. So the first and last impressions are the most important, but which is more important, first or last? Primacy or recency? In fact, neither is more important than the other. They're both of equal importance, and that's something very important to note. Primacy and recency are very, very even as far as their importance in forming impressions and perceptions. Sometimes you might have a really good first impression, and later on, if you do something bad, people will forgive you because of the really good first impression. Sometimes you might do something really bad later on that everything that you did earlier is going to totally be erased. And so that's why primacy and recency could interchange as far as which one is the most important. The next thing we have is something called perceptual sets. Perceptual sets are really kind of hard to explain and also hard to give examples of. A perceptual set is when something falls into the category you think it's going to fall in based on what you expect it to be. It's again hard to come up with an example that's really understandable, that's not going to confuse you with stereotyping. But just remember, stereotyping is different because stereotyping is when you place somebody into a category based on some group that they belong to, versus perceptual sets, which is when somebody does something that you expect them to do. For example, when you watch a video, you expect me to do something really weird and silly because that's what most of my videos have done. But what if you just saw a video where I just was normal? You're probably looking for something weird, something different, something strange, because in your perceptual set, that's what I should be doing. And so you're going to try to force reality on your reality onto what's happening. So just remember, perceptual sets are all about what you expect to see. Next, we have egocentrism, which is another negative connotated word. Egocentrism is this thing where we put ourselves first and we think about ourselves, and it's hard for us to take another person's perspective. We see things through our own lens, through our own eyes, through our own experiences. So if I see somebody doing something, I try to fit that into my own experience and what I would be doing in that situation, and that's my perception. It's good to try to be alter-centric. Boy, this video is getting really long. I'm going to have a little bit of breakfast right now. It is, gosh, almost not even 8 in the morning. So I'm going to have some breakfast. Why don't you pause this, take a quick break. That's good. Take a quick break. Got another 10 seconds or so. Go to the bathroom. Go grab a tasty beverage. You have time to watch a quick episode of Robot Chicken, maybe. Okay, feeling better. Now, that was the halfway point of the video. Egocentrism is all about meeting our own needs right in the moment. That was an egocentric thing I just did. I really wasn't concerned about your time. I was only concerned about my time. Now, that's obviously an extreme example. When we're forming perceptions, we want to make sure to look at things from other people's viewpoints. That's what I was trying to do last week with last week's discussion board about gay and lesbian issues. Because it seems like the majority of our class is not gay, if not everybody in our class ends up being gay. And so it's really tough for us sometimes to see things from the perspective of other people because we're so looking at it from our own perspective, our own sexuality, our own faith, our own whatever. And sometimes it's hard to look at it from other people's perspectives because we're all about ourselves. So being alter-centric can be very valuable. Next, we have something called positivity bias. Positivity bias is when you have a positive impression of somebody and therefore everything they do is going to be explained away in some positive way. So if you really, really, really like somebody and they do something bad, the positivity bias is going to allow you to explain that away by saying, oh, well, you know, they're having a bad day or perhaps this or that. Negativity bias is the opposite. Negativity bias is when you have a negative impression of somebody and therefore you're going to explain everything they do away in some negative way. So maybe you have a negative first impression of somebody from the primacy effect and then later on they do something really nice like they give you $1,000. The negativity bias would say, oh, they're just giving me $1,000 because they're trying to make me believe they're a good person, but they're really not. That's the negativity bias. The positivity bias would be if somebody did something really good early on in the relationship and you really like them, but later on they do something pretty bad, like they start dating your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're like, ah, well, you know what, I probably did something wrong, and you blame yourself. So that's the positivity and negativity bias, or kind of pair like primacy and recency. So to sum it up, we have 7 fundamental forces of perception. Number 1, stereotyping. Number 2, primacy. Number 3, recency. Number 4, perceptual sets. Number 5, egocentrism. Number 6, positivity bias. Number 7, negativity bias. And there we have it, perceptuals, the 7 fundamental forces of perception. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had a great time. Hope you enjoyed all of the facial close-ups of my face. I hope you really enjoyed everything. Have a great day, everybody, and answer the questions below.